Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is going to be on the Clubman Estate. Specifically, we're going to be fixing this faulty fuel sender, or rather I should say replacing it. But more importantly, I'm going to talk about how to check, measure, and then calibrate these units so that they read correctly on the dash. So that's the project today. So let's get straight in, and I'm going to start out on the bench talking about how the fuel sender works. How to measure it with the multimeter, and then just basic adjustment possibilities with this unit. And then we'll move on to installing it in the car and then calibrating it to the car. So let's go straight over to the bench and start discussing how the fuel sender operates. Every time I filled up this car, the gauge would be full, but then it would get to about a half a tank and then suddenly just go to empty real fast. So I believe this is a problem with the sender. So what I'm going to do is go to the back and take the tank out and get to the sender and see what's going on with the sender, because I think it's a sender problem. But I got to drop the tank and figure out what happened to it. But yeah, it would go straight to full and then get to half tank and then just disappear. So that's the mystery we're trying to solve today, is what's going on with this fuel gauge. And there's the tank. I went and pulled it out off camera just because it's so fiddly annoying. Now, I noticed this is actually a new tank. On the inside, it's all shiny and new, but there was a small pile of dirt here which caused rust to form and then erode the tank from the outside in, so I had to actually patch a small hole here. So that solved one of my small problems that I didn't mention earlier, and that was whenever I parked the van on a small hill or filled the tank up, I'd have fuel just leaking out of the tank. So I could never figure out what it was, and yeah, it was a small little rust hole. But anyway, moving on from that, the fuel sender, which is actually fitted to the other side of this, I've gone ahead and pulled it out, and I'm taking it over to the bench. So we're going to do some benchtop work, and I'll show you how to check and test the fuel senders to see if there's a problem with the sender or if it's a problem with the gauge. But let me take it over to the bench, and I'll show you how to do all that work. All right, so we are now on the bench, and I'm going to go ahead and start the testing process to figure out what happened to this sender and if it's a problem with the sender or if it's a problem with the gauge. But we're going to do a bench test of the fuel sender first before we do anything else. Now, I've got two multimeters in front of me. I have an analog one here with the analog gauge, and I've got a digital one. Now, if you're going to do this test, you need to be doing this with an analog gauge, because the digital one will jump around too much and you won't get good readings off of it. And it's just because of the way that this gauge operates. Inside here is a little metal arm that sweeps across a bunch of wire, and it changes the internal resistance reading based on the position of the float. So for instance, when the tank is full, it might have a low resistance, and when the tank is empty, it has a high resistance. But the problem is that it's a very noisy signal, and the digital multimeter is capable of sampling at very high rates, which will give you very, very bad data to look at, whereas the analog one doesn't sample nearly as fast, so it's much easier to see. And you can also watch this gauge to see if there's any problems with the signal dropping out, like a broken resistor wire or something. But let me go ahead and demonstrate the process of testing the sender first on the new one, and then we'll go ahead and check the old one against the new one. So I'll start off by showing you how to operate the analog gauge. Now, I have two wires here. I have a black wire for ground, and I'll just go ahead and hook this up to the case. And I have a green wire for the signal wire. So right away, this is the up position. So the sender has the word top. That's referring to the top of the tank. So when the float is in this upper position, this is a full position. And you'll notice the gauge says about 2 ohms or 20 or whatever. It doesn't really matter the number. Just recognize that that mark is full. And as we lower the float downwards, I can do this one-handed here, we can see that as we reach the empty position, the resistance goes high to, say, like 300 ohms or something. So full, again, low resistance, empty, high resistance. And you can see it's a nice smooth motion on the multimeter. So let's compare that to the digital one over here. And I'll just move the jumper wires over so you can see it. All right. So in the full position, we got about 20 ohms or so. And then as I sweep this down, you can see it kind of jumps and dances around as you're going down. Yes, it is tracking with the same information as the other gauge is providing, but you can see how radically different the information is. It just flicks about, so it's very difficult to tell what's happening. Yeah, that's why I don't recommend using a digital multimeter for this task. Always use an analog to do this test. So now that we've seen how useless the digital multimeter is, let's go ahead and get rid of it. And now let's go ahead and test the old sender versus the new one. So with the old sender, once again, we'll just ground out the unit here. And I'm just going to hook it up. And once again, let's go ahead and test full. So the problem I was having with my car is that at full, it would read, and it would read at about a half tank, and then that was about it. So right away, we can see that my full reading isn't very good. It's not nearly as close as the other one was to 20. And as we lower it down, we can see the signal really just flicks about and then just drops off. And now we have no signal at all down here. So I'm willing to bet that the resistor in here has broken, which is why we're not getting any signal in this lower range whatsoever. So that's how you test one of these senders. Just get an analog gauge and just sweep it around and watch for any places where the signal just drops out. And yeah, this one's really bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop open the case real quick so you guys can see inside, see what it looks like in there, and then we'll go back out and start installing the new sender. So I've gone ahead and removed the cover from the unit, and if we look in here very carefully, we can see that there are in fact broken wires right here. We can see them. So yeah, that's why this unit is not working, because it has literally just broken and failed. So, but you can see how this operates. The arm sweeps across a number of these wires to change the resistance, and this is a resistive wire, so more wires equals more resistance, and less wires is less resistance. Pretty simple device. What's cool about it is that it has to work inside the fuel tank, totally saturated in fuel. So this is pretty special wire. And yeah, that's why this thing failed. And this is also why I can't fix it, is because a wire breakage like this is unrepairable. Another minor problem with this old float is that there's actually fuel inside here. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but there is fuel slowly starting to fill in this this float. So even if I could fix this, I still need to replace this float with a new float. So the easiest and simplest answer is just install the new one. Now, you noticed when I was doing my test with the multimeter, I had to ground the body because, again, it's measuring a resistance. So if there's any resistance between this sender housing and the tank, or between the tank and the body, then it'll make the gauge on the dash read improperly. So one of the things that I'm going to do is add an extra ground wire to one of these screw locations, and I'll use just a simple little grounded connector to do it, and I'll run it into the body and connect it to the harness so that it has a good ground point, so that I can ensure that the gauge itself is grounded independent of what the tank is doing. So just one little extra, bonus modification to ensure that I get good readings. But with the fuel sender, the other thing I need to do is I want to make sure it's operating and giving the correct information when the tank is empty. So I'm going to fill the tank up with probably just water, so that when the tank is up to the point at which the suction tube can just start sucking liquid out of the tank, I'll make sure that this reads empty, because I only really care about when it reads empty. I don't really care about when it's full or half tank. I just need to know where exactly empty is, because obviously if it doesn't read empty when the tank can't pump fuel out of it, then there's no point in having a gauge that tells you when empty is, because that would be inaccurate. So I'll go through the process and show you how to make adjustments. It's pretty easy. You just need to bend this arm a little bit at a time to get the float position just right, depending on where the fluid is sitting. But it's just one of those little steps that ensures that the car is reading properly and just makes your life easier. So we're looking inside the fuel tank, and we're looking at the fuel pickup pipe. It's there in orange. And if we look at the filter, you can see just where the bottom tube is. It's maybe like a 1/4 inch off the bottom of the tank. So I need to put enough liquid in this tank in order for the tube to be covered. And that is technically the fully empty position. Once it goes below that point, the pump can no longer suck fuel out of the tank, so therefore it truly would be empty. So in case you're wondering, there's about a half gallon of liquid that needs to be inside here for this pickup pipe to be able to pull fuel out of the tank. So with that having been done, I need to now hook up the sender to the car body, hook it up into the tank, and then verify that the dash gauge says empty with it fitted in this position. And if it doesn't, I need to make adjustments to this rod. So I've just got the sender sitting on top of the tank with the wires hooked up to the harness. Now I have added this black wire as a better grounding point for the gauge sender, just to make sure that this grounds effectively, because before it was just grounding through the tank, but the tank really isn't well grounded to the body. So this extra wire here grounded to the body will do a better job of grounding the sender. Anyway, I've got it in the fully up full position. So I'm going to go inside the car and see what the position is on the gauge to start with, to see what full looks like. And inside the car we can see ignition key turned on. We are just under the full mark, so it's a little low, but again, I only care about what it reads when it reads empty. So let's go ahead and put it to empty and see what it says. And here we go. We have now flipped the sender to empty, and we are now reading just below the red mark on the dash as empty. So now that we know what the current position is of the sender in relation to this gauge, we can now fit the sender to the tank and verify that empty is still in this position, because if it reads differently than this position, then we need to make an adjustment to the sender arm. So I've gone ahead and refitted the sender to the tank, and I've just got it hooked up with only a couple bolts for now. So we'll see what the empty position of the tank says about its position to the gauge. So turning the key on, let's see what it says. It looks pretty good to me. Yeah, I'd say that's exactly where I want it. So in this case, I don't actually have to do any bending or adjusting of the sender, because that's pretty much where it was sitting before I fitted it to the tank at the empty position. So I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the sender alone and just fit it the one last time with all the hardware and sealant, and we'll go ahead and refit the tank back into the car, and yeah, we'll be done with this project. So now I'm all ready to refit the tank. I did purchase a new fitting kit, and I already have installed the tank filler neck seal. This is the old one. As you can see, it had red overspray on it. It was pretty bad. So whenever I have a tank out, I always fit a new seal. And the fitting kit's nice because it just makes sure you have all the right hardware and nothing's broken or damaged. So with that having been said, let me go ahead and fit this tank up, and then I guess I'll have to fill it up with fuel and make sure it all works. So I've just finished installing the tank. As you can see, it's back on the ground. We've got the filler cap reinstalled, so we're back on level ground. And I put in 2 gallons of fuel. So let's see where the gauge reads now that I've given it some fuel. Looks like with 2 gallons, we're just above the red section. So realistically, that's 1.5 gallons usable. Just above the red, but yeah, I'm really happy with that. That gives me very clear indication of what the fueling condition is in the tank, and you know, I know that I just need to fill up right when it hits the red, so that's great. I'm really confident now in this gauge. So I think that's it for this episode. If you guys appreciate it, let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.